In this video, we're going to talk about CD Projekt Red's big mea culpa and their big corporate strategy change that they announced after dropping patch 1.2 for Cyberpunk 2077. Is this a resurgence of the Witcher franchise? Does this mean Witcher 4 is around the corner? Can we trust CD Projekt Red again? Subscribe to the Linus Wilson channel, where we give you the secrets to crush open world RPG games. Yesterday, on March 30th, 2021, after releasing patch 1.2 for Cyberpunk 2077, and I wanted to go through all the patch notes, and maybe I will at some point, but I probably won't in this video. But I thought it was refreshing. I thought it was some of the best communication I've seen from CD Projekt Red since I've been covering them. Since I started covering The Witcher in 2019, The Witcher Netflix first, and then I started covering CD Projekt Red. I think that one of the things that, from my perspective, as coming from a book reader to The Witcher, and then a show watcher to The Witcher, and a player of the Witcher games, my perspective has always been that Cyberpunk was a folly from the CD Projekt Red's point of view, that The Witcher was a tremendous IP, and the fact that they left it for Cyberpunk and left it for dead, right? I don't have any problem with the games company diversifying their IP. I think that's a good idea. What has always bothered me with CD Projekt Red's development cycle is that they can only do one thing at a time. And one of the things I've been advocating for a long time is that they need to look at the model of other development studios which can develop multiple projects at once. Right? They have multiple separate teams. And I'm not sure, from what I heard yesterday, that they're ready to do that, or they're even going to go to do that, because there were some of those slides those management mumbo jumbo slides that I thought were quite distressing. But I was happy that they are opening a Vancouver office. I think that will make it much easier for them to recruit high quality developers. I think one of their disadvantages is that, even though Poland's in the EU, I've got nothing against Poland, but it's there's a limited amount of development talent in Poland. I'm sure their Polish studios are full of people from all over Europe who may not prefer to work in Poland just because of the weather. I've got nothing against Poland, but, I don't think people vacation to Poland. They vacation to Spain. They vacation to Italy. They vacation to France, right? People vacation to Vancouver. So I think it's great that they're opening up a Vancouver office. And I think it's terrible the way that they manage the crunch and that with the Cyberpunk. And I think that all the problems that CD Projekt Red have are due to the management failures, the top management failures, and that has not been improved. But at least the management has said that they have a mea culpa, they've been wrong, and that they are going to change the way they do things. And I think there were a number of developments that were really positive. So very clearly, Cyberpunk was overhyped. Right, and part of the reason why it was overhyped was because The Witcher 3 was so good. But I don't think you can divorce how good The Witcher 3 was from the fact that it was their third game, their third iteration on that type of game, and that they had a tremendous IP that I know most gamers don't believe this, but even though he's not a nice guy, Andrei Sapkowski is a genius, and his books were wonderful, right? I think his books are better than anything that Tolkien wrote, right? And, he's written subsequent books, but after his Witcher books, and they've not been as good. They were the magnum opus that they were working from with just tremendous characterization. And to walk away from really a successful franchise and completely abandon it for, non AAA offerings is kind of insane from a business perspective. And I don't think that there's any way to spin it except for management incompetence. And we're looking at here, they just got a lucky break with the Witcher Netflix series. The Witcher Netflix series realized the potential of the IP, and they capitalized on the potential of the IP in a way that CD Projekt Red had basically abandoned. I know they did Thronebreaker and they've been doing the Gwent games, but really those have really a limited, and it's only kind of keeping their existing audience. They're not building their audience with Gwent or Thronebreaker. They're just keeping their existing audience monetized. And so, Cyberpunk was a failure, a technical failure. It still is a technical failure. In terms of a story, it does not compare, I don't think, to the Witcher games in terms of the choice and things, but maybe I'm wrong. I have not played through it. But from what I've told, the choices are quite limited. The beginning choices don't matter. The ending choices do seem to matter somewhat, and I guess that puts them above, some of the more recent successful games, such as AC Valhalla or Ghost of Tsushima. In that, I think that there's maybe more story choice there in Cyberpunk, but certainly quite a bit less than The Witcher. And, I guess I'm heartened that they're going to do parallel AAA development in 2022. The proof is in the pudding, though. I mean, the truth is that they've never been able to do that in the past. And that's been their great failure. And that's why Ubisoft has a AAA release every year, or multiple AAA releases, because they can have multiple studios working on independent projects. And the management team at CD Projekt Red has never been able to do that. And I think if you look at this, in particular, this right here, it says that we're going to have cross-functional teams that kind of go across things. I don't think that's going to work, right? I think that the model, if you look at Ubisoft, is right. They've got the Montreal office doing one thing. They've got the Toronto office doing another. They've got the Paris office doing another, whatever. That they have that no, Vancouver is not supporting Warsaw. Vancouver is doing its own project, right? And, of course, there's going to be some of that, but for the most part, those are independent things. And when you mix them together, it especially with the management team that you have at CD Projekt, that two things cannot be produced at the same time. So I'm still quite skeptical. I think they're making a move. They're making sounds in the right direction. And really, the failure of Cyberpunk has meant that really there's not much to do, and I think they've kind of walked back of the multiplayer aspect, because nobody wants to play multiplayer on a game that nobody wants to play. Now that's not true, because people are still playing Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk and The Witcher 3 both feature in the top 10, but towards the bottom of the top 10 of the Steam active players right now. I think if we have another season of The Witcher, that's going to go up. But Cyberpunk, I don't know if it will go up. Hopefully this patch will get people to play it more. I kind of abandoned my playing with it fairly early. It was not because of the bugs. It was because of the content. I don't like the shooter genre. Right? That's the other thing. You move from genres to genres, you're not going to keep your same players. But I understand they want to diversify. They want to be the next GTA. But, obviously their driving in Cyberpunk is not enough to be a GTA. GTA from 10 years ago. And I guess everybody wants to be the next GTA. So, I think it's positive. I think it's positive, but is it indicative of a great turnaround? It might be more positive if they replace the C-level leadership, right? That might be the more positive sign. But then again, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's not a lot of superstars in the C-level leadership of the major gaming companies, and maybe the managers at Cyberpunk are more consumer friendly, even if they do a lot of boneheaded things like abandoning a good franchise and doing crunch forever and being unable to expand the business, being unable to create a multi-studio model, which is really I think the only model you can in a multi-franchise business, and development studio. So I think they have to decide which IP they want to develop. I don't think Monster Slayer is going to really expand the Witcher IP. I think it's probably going to detract from it, right? It's a low quality offering when I played it, and it's not, it may appeal to some hardcore fans, but I don't think it's going to bring in a lot of fans to the franchise, right? It's not story driven, for one thing, right? Those are, at least they acknowledge that story driven RPGs are their bread and butter. So I don't think these kind of side things that are not so story driven are necessarily going to bring in the money, even though the online service model is seen as the cash cow in gaming right now. I'm not sure that's actually true in practice. Subscribe to the Linus Wilson channel, where we give you the secrets to crush RPGs such as The Witcher 3 and Valhalla and Ghost of Tsushima.